Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 99. Wearing the glasses for the first time in the second video that I've recorded since starting to wear them. I'm supposed to wear them all the time, but I'm going through that transition phase where I'm getting used to them. So sometimes you'll see them, sometimes you won't. Eventually you'll see them all the time. But anyway, rear wing research project complete. Preparing that car for next year. I can't immediately go into the next project. I had plenty of money to do so, but then in the week and a half leading up to Silverstone, I've had 3 facilities reach that point where they need to be refurbished, and the first refurbishment took all of the funds that we had. So there's 2 refurbishments to go. We've entered the new period, so I do have the allocation to go into the research projects, but I need the money. Let's get through a race weekend, then we could probably do that. Last year for Silverstone, we managed to get into the top 5, but not on the podium. Porsche was 4th, Doohan was 6th, but we were only a couple seconds behind Verstappen, which definitely was a step in the right direction. I mean, by this point in the season a year ago, we had had a win, but we had been struggling. The car was very much a second half of the year car. This year, we've got very much a first half of the year car, so let's hope we can continue getting results for a while and extend our lead, because that's what it's going to take if we are going to hang on towards the tail end of the season without bringing the upgrades to the car.
We're here in legendary Silverstone, where the very first Formula One World Championship Grand Prix was held back in 1950. It's a place where every tuft of grass breathes motorsport, and the crowd are already crackling with excitement.
We ride with Porsche on his final flying lap of Q3. Both drivers have comfortably made it into Q3, and both drivers looking really good after their first run on the U set. Porsche on provisional pole. Russell is currently P2, and Doohan is right there, just a 10th behind in P3. And of course, we are going out on the fresh set for this final run, hoping to improve on our time. Porsche is purple for Sector 1. We currently ride through Sector 2. Let's see what we can do. Oh, that's yellow for Porsche in Sector 2. That's not good. Worse than what he had before, but he was pole, so maybe it's just about even on where he was. But Verstappen goes on to the provisional pole for now, somehow improving his time. Porsche, 3 thousandths of a second down, does not improve, but Doohan is purple in Sector 2. Can he improve? Can he get on the front row? Can he get on the pole? He does! He bumps his teammate down to P3, so they've essentially swapped positions here, and it's Doohan who takes the pole. It's Porsche who will start from row 2, just at fraction of a second. Both did improve their time, by the way, so both had improved their time from Q2 anyway. I don't know about the first run of the session. Porsche's first lap was his best. His second lap was not an improvement. It was incredibly close. So you could see that in Sector 1, he had shaved off 2/100ths of a second. But in Sector 2, he lost a better portion of a 1/10 of a second, about 6/100ths, and improved slightly in that third, but that ended up dropping him down by about 2/100ths, just that little bit worse, and that was the difference. We're expecting a wet race, changing up the strategy. It's been a long time since we've had a wet race. I mean, really long time, right? I don't think I even had one last season. I certainly haven't had one this season. This light rain is expected to come and go, and it's hard to say whether it's for sure going to change things up enough to put us into the intermediates. And it could happen pretty early. Right now, my prediction is that it's not going to happen for a while, and those intermediates can only last so long. You're going to have to really stretch and kind of wait. It's going to definitely dry out for a while. But yeah, big ifs here. I don't know, that track grip's not going to get too bad. It may not. So going on to the sauce here means we're definitely looking at a 2-stopper. The 1-stopper is not going to work. You can see there is a 2-stop strategy, and compared to the 1-stop strategy, it's about 6 seconds slower. So if we are caught out, if we go on the sauce and it doesn't put us into a situation where we have to we'd go hards and then mediums, I think, is how we would manage that one, or hard and then back to soft at the end of the race. But yeah, this is nervous times, folks. Nervous times.
Quite a few clouds overhead as we look at the lineup on the grid. Looking now at the Williams. They're starting today at the head of the pack, but will they be able to stay there? And looking at the second Williams car. They're up in third position, tantalizingly close to pole. Everything's been building to this. Anticipation is high, and the drivers are ready for this. The British Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
All right, we're looking to get both cars out front very early on. Pourchaire is the one we definitely want to keep an eye on here. Can he challenge for P2? For now, he's actually just trying to hang on to P3, and that's not a great start, but he's got to run down. Oh, big lockup, big lockup. Pourchaire with the lockup. Wow, that's not a good start for him. Are you kidding me? At least that lockup did not turn into a crash. Really confused though, as you know, Pourchaire is up to like an 89 in his ability to stop locking up. He's still making that mistake. He's caught up to the other drivers in the field and still does it far frequently than everybody else. But it is lap 1, and it does happen even to the best drivers on the grid. So Pourchaire already getting back up to P4, but it's the two Red Bulls in between us, and that of course is worrying. But meanwhile, Doohan is actively pulling away from these guys. I don't know how it is that he's used up any battery, but we're going to keep pushing with him for a little bit and get Verstappen out of DRS range before DRS kicks in, because us on soft pulling the mediums around is not going to be good. But us on soft pulling away from everybody else, if we do have to make a 2-stopper when everybody else makes a 1-stopper, that is our trick going forward. I'm so sorry I forgot to put my face cam back on, but there it is. And now we're talking here on lap number 2 to an audience. We went one lap just hearing my voice watching the game. That's okay. It's all good. For now, we're not going deep on the fuel. Actually, the fuel's looking pretty good. I mean, we've been pushing for a full lap, and we're still on 0, just now starting to get the hint of a minus 0.1 out there. So not having a problem pushing for the time being, as we are now on lap number 2, and Pourchaire all over the back of Verstappen. But can we get around him, and then can we drive away from him? Because Doohan certainly has, but before long, DRS is going to become open as we go through Maggots and Beckett's and are still battling with Verstappen, and suddenly at a 1.5 seconds behind. Doohan's in great shape, but what about his teammate? And if we back off with him for a bit and have Pourchaire continue to push, can Pourchaire catch up? We have used up some of that battery now, but we're 0.4 ahead of Verstappen and closing in on our teammate. If I can get DRS on him, can I yank myself? Somebody else is locked up. I do have to go fairly quick through this race. Again, not as bad of a scenario as we had the last time, where we squeezed one race in to one very short episode.
Red Bull gained a place.
But I might have to still squeeze one race in the episode. We have pulled away from 8th place on down. Ricciardo's already 3 seconds behind. But just as I feared, Pourchaire has pulled Verstappen right up on into the race lead, from being so much faster than him to being right there. But look how good our fuel is, as Doohan is already back into a positive fuel delta, and Pourchaire is already nearing a positive fuel delta. And we clearly do have a pace advantage over these guys, but we've used up so much of these tires already that, yeah, we'll see what happens with the rain in the near future.
More rain to come.
Yeah, there's your warning. 70% chance of it coming in the next 4 minutes. Couple laps, and then there is our pit window. I'm frustrated though that Pourchaire with his mistake. If not for his mistake, Doohan and Pourchaire both would have been able to drive away and would have been that 1.5 seconds ahead, and none of these guys would have had DRS, and we wouldn't have been pulling them around the track, and we would be 4 seconds or so ahead of them, or 3 seconds or 2 seconds ahead. But whatever the case may be, we would have had a little bit of an advantage for a pit stop if everybody else dives into the pits as well. Here comes the rain.
Rain in the pit lane at the moment.
Here comes the rain, and the lap has just started. So there's going to be plenty of time in the lap to decide whether it's necessary to switch to the intermediates. We're already at 0.5 millimeter, and it looks like that is going to be the case. Yes, it is. We want to pit. And we're going to want to double stack.
Use lifting.
Transition.
Probably.
Remember? Adaptability for our two guys? Very low. They were both really slow. Because they were on the wrong tires in the wrong conditions, and they went backwards real fast. Everybody's pitting, just about. Russell and Leclerc have stayed out, and Ricciardo has stayed out. Guan Yu Zhou has stayed out, and Doohan held up in traffic. He's already lost 2 positions there, and then Pourchaire's held up by his teammate. He rejoins the track quickly at least. But that is a big backwards movement for our 2 drivers. Doohan is down to P13, Pourchaire is down to P14, and Verstappen is P9. So you're looking at 8 drivers that stayed out from the looks of it. He's getting held up in a little bit of traffic, but Norris and Gasly got around both of our 2 drivers, and we come out a little bit further behind from where we were. Go and use some of this spare fuel. Let's go check in on Doohan, who is stuck behind Latifi right now. Alright, the field is starting to sort itself out here. That's going to be everybody on the intermediates. Track is damp at 2 millimeters, by the way. And Verstappen ends up with a 5-second lead because he was ahead of one more car and got through the traffic a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. So Verstappen now has a huge benefit, the adaptability to his benefit and track position. And then of course our terrible pit box costs Doohan 2 positions, and then Pourchaire manages to get around him even though he came out a few seconds behind him after the pit stop there. Albon is 2.2 behind. Nobody should have DRS. It's looking like that's the case. I don't believe we have any DRS. We would know here in just a second if that is the case. Yeah, flap did not open, so no DRS. Field is definitely spread out a bit here. Pourchaire, after his initial gains, actually lost a little bit there. But he is ultimately bringing things in when it comes to pulling back. Norris and Gasly, who at least are keeping the gap steady to Verstappen. Verstappen is not pulling away from them. But trying to preserve the life of these tires just a little bit, somewhere, somehow, some way, is going to be important. Speaking of, let's try to recover some battery. As Pourchaire has gotten awfully close.
Run wide there?
Schumacher runs wide. Doohan all over the back of his teammate. Let's go ahead and give him a couple minutes to recover some battery. And let's speed things up. It's lap 23 already. Now this rain wasn't going to last for too long. DRS fully charged. 1.5 seconds back though. He's going to have to close that down. At least he's holding off signs. Okay, let's finish getting your battery full. It's not far away from there. But they definitely lose ground when we do that. When we back off. But we're going to go fuel up. We're going to try to make our way around these guys here at some point. And you see how Doohan was closing down his teammate. Now Pourchaire is going to start closing down Gasly again. So yes, we do have better pace than those guys. We just are stuck in a little bit of traffic. We're also starting to get some spare fuel that will come in handy. And the pit window has entered because the rain is supposed to be dying down. We are not going to put on intermediates. We are definitely going to just prolong our stay as long as we have to, and then pit, because it's not going to last much longer, the rain. Speaking of, though, let's check. Porsche has already closed back down on Gasly and Norris. Now, we don't necessarily want a double stack either. Depends on as the track dries out. Not time. But let's push. Let's overtake with Porsche and see what happens. Oh, very close, but we almost get some space here with the Mercedes, but he blocks us off just in the end. We were right there, just about able to make it happen. And then, of course, in backing off, we lose half a second. But we've closed that back up. Got another chance to make a run here. We're not going to have to be on these tires much longer, so I'm feeling like now it's time to burn them out and see what we can do. Porsche, I predicted one more lap. I predicted this lap was when it was going to be. Meanwhile, Verstappen, by the way, has gained half a second. That's it. But he's still got that 5-second advantage. So Sainz has fallen off the back a little bit. He's 1.7 back. Doohan can actually start trying to make his way through as well. And can go aggressive as well. 1.22. Not quite time to pit just yet.
We're happy to push on with the tyres.
Porsche now challenging Norris. And looks like we have managed to get around. 1.14. I think this might be our lap to pit, by the way.
And a new position, just gained by Williams.
Still battling with Norris, by the way. Overtake not quite complete. See if we can use just a little bit.
Use of attack. So what? DRS.
Still holding at 1.14 though, so we don't want to be on the wrong tire as bad as we are with adaptability. So for now, we hold off. It's steady. Okay, now it's starting to drop again.
No rain
1.12.
No rain expected.
Rain has stopped. Is the track drying though? 1.1, 1.09, 1.08. Yes, it is. 1.07. There's just a little bit of a gap between us. This is the race, folks. This is the race. This lap. Of course, Verstappen already has an advantage of 6 seconds, so.
Box this lap.
But 1.02, it's time, and we're going to be the first ones to dive off. Porsche into the pits. 1.0. And the track is starting to dry out. We're the first two into the pits at the exact perfect moment. And Doohan's right behind. He will have to lose a couple seconds, but he's going to start to gain immediately as he comes back out. So we'll watch from Doohan's perspective as he sits. Definitely had to sit for the 2.5 seconds. But track is drying very quickly. How much will we gain? Okay, tires cannot get burnt out. We're going to go standard right from the get-go. Oh, Doohan right behind Guan Yu Zhou. Porsche, meanwhile, is already just 1.2 behind Sonoda. Of course, both are actively trying to get up to speed. There we go. Already starting to come back at him now. Doohan is.
Just use the overtake.
Copy.
Oh, and he squeezes us out of space.
Now if you've got it.
Copy.
But that was a dirty move. But we do properly get up the inside and complete the overtake. And Pourchaire. Pourchaire has caught up. And everybody else is pitting now, just one lap later.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
How much do we gain in the one lap? One lap advantage is all we managed.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Full deploy, full deploy. Here we go. Here we go. Where do we come out at? Third with Russell and Verstappen. Oh, Russell stayed out another lap. Oh my goodness.
Push hard. Happy to push hard.
Copy.
We are 6.7 seconds behind Verstappen, by the way. So we didn't gain anything on Verstappen with Pourchaire. Okay, we're going to push on for a little bit longer. Gasly's half a second behind Pourchaire. But we did come out ahead of him at least. And then Norris. And then Doohan. 2.5 seconds further back.
Yeah, copy.
So he's in the same spot he was in. We didn't really gain anything. That traffic we got hung up in held us up just enough to negate the advantage. Russell's already down to P2 and struggling. He's going to lose a lot of ground. This is good for us. We'll take that. That's our win right there. So that's our win, is Russell way down the order, down to P12. So Pourchaire is P2.
Stonking lap.
Doohan just set the fastest lap. Gasly all over the back of Pourchaire, but Norris is 1.2 behind, and Doohan is closing up on Norris. No wonder we're struggling to close up right now. But if we can get in DRS, that's going to be a game changer for Doohan. Pourchaire getting behind Gasly is not going to be a big deal. Those softs are going to be in big, big trouble late in this race. Doohan, now with DRS, closing up on Norris. And Norris is almost DRS range on Pourchaire because he's got those softs. So this will close back up. But these guys are either going to A, pit, or B, struggle in the final laps. I'm assuming it's going to be that. Still have spare fuel as well. What we don't have is a charged battery. We'll charge Doohan's up soon enough. Pourchaire is going to have a bit more of a trouble with that as he's at the front of the group. Harvest. 5.5 seconds ahead of Sainz. So that's one driver who has been dropped, has not made it out of this. Stroll doing well today, all the way up in P7.
Sounds like a spin.
Perez with a spin goes backwards. The Ferrari now down in P11. Leclerc's P9, so Ferrari not a threat today. And one Red Bull has messed up his day, so we're looking pretty good for that. But Verstappen the favorite right now, unless we can really close up in those final laps. Battery not fully charged, but as we close that back down, let's go ahead and get it fully charged. Doohan has a chance to start going forward here at some point. Looks like we got a little too close to Norris and ended up having to back off, but we actually managed to close it back up even on harvest. So are we already experiencing a healthy advantage on just lap 40? Pourchaire starting to close up on Verstappen. That battery's nearly full. Yeah, they're starting to fall below 60%. Multiple cars have crashed. Multiple cars have crashed. None of our four. And not Verstappen. Schumacher is
That's a
picked up a
crash.
penalty.
Multiple cars, I think.
He's the
Let's
one
have a
who
look.
apparently
Right,
is the
watch
cause.
this. There's Schumacher.
Lockup. Schumacher hits the Aston Martin as they were driving side by side. I don't believe it was Stroll. I believe it was Giovinazzi. Track is fully dry now, by the way. And Sainz is well out of this thing at 7 seconds back. And fortunately, they both kept going. I don't want the field bunching up. We're coming back at Verstappen. Now just 5 seconds behind. These guys, under safety car conditions, they might not pit, but it's going to preserve those tires and make us run out of laps. 6 seconds behind is not easy, but I do think that I like our chances of at least getting second and third today and outscoring the Red Bull and maybe catching Verstappen, who's now just 4.7 ahead. Maybe. Oh, come on. You had the job done, doing. All you had to do was close them off. Again.
That's a good
Again, you have the
overtake for
overtake complete and then decide not to finish the job. Oh, into the pits is Norris. We pass Norris and he dives off into the pits. How many more will do the same? How many more will opt for that? Porsche just 3 seconds behind, by the way. 3 seconds is all. Okay, folks, quick announcement. This is definitely going to be a one race episode here, as I am just about out of time once again, unfortunately. 3.3 behind Verstappen. Verstappen goes into the pits, and we are going to move into the race lead. And with the pass complete, it's going to be a 1-2. And it is. Porsche leads from now. Jack Doohan. Gasly is third, and we have a 9-second advantage over Sainz, and we are comfortable till the end of this race. And Gasly does not have the tires to really contest at all. He's down to 34%. We could and should be able to push and pull away a little bit. Ooh, Doohan challenging his teammate. And Gasly goes off into the pits. Now there's no need to do this. Lap 48. And everybody else, softs, just not making it to the end, which I knew they wouldn't. That's why I went for the mediums. I thought they were all going to put on the hards because they used mediums at the start of the race. Instead, they all opt for the softs. That just didn't work. We're out to 10.5 seconds on Sainz already. This is just down to Porsche and Doohan. DRS is Doohan's friend, but Porsche, the more experienced of the pair, has won far more races than Doohan. Can he hold him off? Oh, it's a lockup! It's a lockup for Porsche again. Again, the mistakes. The mistakes have been plentiful, but not costly today. Doohan made the mistake earlier and went backwards. Now it's Porsche's turn, or was it Porsche both times? Which one was it last time? Porsche caught back up and passed Doohan, or was it... I don't remember. I've forgotten already. But Porsche 3.5 seconds behind Doohan with 3 laps to go. Let's speed things up. Right now, there is no challenge between the two. Stroll goes off into the pits. Sainz has remained out there all this time. He's at 41%. If I were him, I'd just wait. Of course, we've seen what happens to soft tires late in a race here if it's bad conditions. I'm thinking the conditions here aren't such that you would expect
This is the final lap.
a problem. But Doohan begins the final lap of the race. Still 3 seconds ahead of his teammate. I think that should just about decide it. So Porsche's mistake has cost him victory today, but we are looking at a 1-2 finish for our team here on the final lap. Schumacher's still carrying that penalty, so he's down in 18th, and that'll definitely secure 18th as he's not passing Ocon. But that's a Mercedes in 17th, the other in 9th. Stroll is 10th for Aston Martin. Magnussen, really good race for him in the Alfa Romeo. Norris is P7, Albon is P5, Verstappen is down in P4 after having pit, and Sainz remains out there. Doohan claims the win, and Pourchaire claims P2, and then that's going to be a McLaren in P3 of Sainz, but I'll take it. Great result for us. Meanwhile, Russell did recover to P8, so a couple extra points for Red Bull, but another good day for us. Pourchaire and Doohan 1-2 with Pourchaire 29 points ahead of Doohan, and Doohan now 24 points ahead of Russell, who's 2 points ahead of Verstappen. It's clear who the top two teams are right now this season. We have 305 points. We've pulled away quite a bit from Red Bull at 226, and they've pulled a long ways away, nearly 100 points ahead of McLaren at 133, who jumped Ferrari for P3 in the standings. That's going to do it for this one. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.